first lived in Latvia as a diplomat between 1996 and 1999, a few years after Latvia regained independence from the crumbling Soviet Union. I returned to live in Latvia in 2022. This podcast series is based on my observations and experience, with some history and comparisons with my home country of England on aspects of life in Latvia and things to see and experience. On the Livs. The Livonians, or Livs, are an indigenous ethnic group in Latvia. They were one of the first nations to settle in what is now modern-day Latvia. They speak a different language, yet have significantly impacted the Latvian language and culture. The Livonian language is regarded as dormant. Few people outside of Latvia, and I'm afraid to say many people living in Latvia, are unaware of the Livonians. Let's get to know this wonderful ethnic group. Some context. I am in Meziebe, Ire in Livonian, on the northwest tip of Latvia. Meziebe is the cultural home of the Livonians. Apart from having one of the best beaches in Latvia and the Slitera National Park surrounding the village, it has many Livonian cultural artefacts, not least the annual Livonian Festival on the first Saturday of August. Meziebe is a beautiful place. I would like to live here all year round. However, the school closed down a few years ago. A 4G telephone signal is sometimes possible, but good Wi-Fi is not. The village is slowly decreasing in population as people move to cities for jobs and education. Some investment in telecommunications would make a difference in job creation and the living standards of people in Meziebe and the surrounding Livonian coast villages. Wake up at LMT and invest some of those profits. History. To start to understand the Livonian people, let's first look at their history. The Livonians are a Finnic people indigenous to Latvia, speaking a Uralic language similar to Estonian and Finnish, and to a lesser extent to Hungarian. They have significantly impacted the modern Latvian language as it was formed from contact between the Livonians and several Baltic nations, the Latgalians, Semigalians and Curonians. The influence of Livonians can be seen in Latvian culture and cuisine. I just ate a delicious Livonian carrot cake for breakfast. The importance of indigenous Livonians is recognised in the Latvian constitution. The Livonians were first mentioned in historical records at the beginning of the 12th century. In that century, the Livonians inhabited about a quarter of the territory of present-day Latvia. Gradually, over the centuries, they assimilated into the Baltic tribes of Latvia, and the number of people identifying as Liv and speaking Livonian decreased. In a feudal system, Livonians and Latvians were only tenants in their homes and had to pay dues or do free labour for their German Baltic masters. For the fishermen and people of Meziebe, this was the Osten-Sarken family at Dundaga Castle. Do listen to my episode on castles and invaders for more stories about Dundaga and its ghost who visited us. Livonian economic activity was determined by their environment, sea, forest, or land for agriculture or livestock. The feudal system ended in 1920 with the agrarian laws, 2 years after Latvia declared independence from Russia. In the 1920s and 30s, Mazirbe had a shop, a school, a church, post office, clinic with a doctor and midwife, pharmacy, tea house, barber shop, photographer's studio, mills, fish smokehouse, brick kiln, in fact several shops, a big fishing cooperative and a railway linking Mazirbe to Ventspils and Dundaga. Now there is only one shop, the church and the Livonian community house, as well as some houses, of course, for socio-economic facilities. No school, railway line or industry there. The interwar years were good for Livonian culture, with songs, books and a newspaper in Livonian published. That favourable period ended with the Soviet-Russian occupation during and following the Second World War. The number of people identifying as Livonian decreased. Many emigrated or were deported. A few were murdered. Some were just afraid to declare their ethnic identity. To the Russians, anyone with a strong national identity was a threat. The Soviets banned coastal fishing. You can still see the ship graveyard in Mazirbe, where Livonian fishermen hid their boats in the forest behind the beach in the 1960s. A few boats remain, trees and plants growing through their wooden carcasses. Only when Latvia regained independence in 1991 was the Livonian legal status defined and protected. However, the 2011 census stated that only 250 Livonians were living in Latvia. This decreased to 170 by 2017. Of course, these figures are of people who identify themselves as Livonian and are not necessarily a complete indicator of ethnicity, but there is a clear trend. Language. Livonian is a Finnic Uralic language, unlike Latvian, a Baltic Indo-European language. Linguistically, Livonian is closest to Estonian and Finnish, and more distant to Hungarian and Sami. Livonian is listed in the UNESCO Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger as a critically endangered language. In ancient times, Livonian was spoken across much of present-day Latvia. In the 19th century, there were still 3,000 speakers. By the mid-20th century, this had dropped to 1,500 speakers. Presently, there are less than 30 people worldwide who can communicate in Livonian. All is not lost, as the number of people who have learned the basics of Livonian has recently increased. Short language tutorials have been published on the Livonian Institute of the University of Latvia's YouTube channel. They provide an introduction to the language. Do watch these. They have English subtitles. We talk more about language during the discussion with Eva and Streiter near the end of this episode. Symbols. Like some other ethnic groups in Europe, the Livonians have some symbols to represent their culture in addition to the language. They have a green, white and blue flag that was first raised on the 18th of November 1923 at the Mazirbe parish priest's residence. My interlocutor, Eva Anstreiter, will tell us an interesting story about the flag near the end of this episode. In preparation for raising the Livonian flag in 1923, the Livonian poet Kaarli Stalter wrote the words of a patriotic song, My Fatherland, and set it to the same melody as the Finnish and Estonian national anthems that were composed by the Finnish composer of German descent, Frederick Pacius. The Livonian Union's choir sang the anthem at the flag-raising ceremony. The Livonian Union built a community house in Mazirbe, in close cooperation and with finance from fellow linguistic kin in Finland, Estonia and Hungary. This was opened in 1939, but couldn't be used for long due to the Soviet occupation during the Second World War and for decades afterwards. Only on the 1st of January 2000 did the Livonian Union regain ownership of the building. The largest and oldest Livonian community organisation is the Livonian Union, established in Mazirbe in 1923. It was closed down by the Soviets, but re-established in 1988. Thanks to the activism of the Union, in 1991 the Latvian government recognised the Livonians as a nation indigenous to Latvia and safeguarded their identity and historic home region. This is enshrined in the Latvian constitution. The goals of the Union are to keep the Livonian language alive, to spread knowledge and learning, and to help improve Livonians' economic and social life. In addition to the Union is the Livonian Culture Centre, established by Livonian cultural activists in 1994. They have an excellent website, livones.net, with English pages promoting the Livonian language and culture. Well worth a browse. The Livonian Festival. I fondly recall being invited to the annual Livonian Festival on the first weekend of August as a British diplomat in Latvia in the second half of the 1990s. There was a really fun group of Estonian diplomats at the time, and we all had a great time in Mazirbe for the weekend. The organisers even let me camp right by the beach. That was when I fell in love with Mazirbe. The festival includes a procession to the shore to remember fishermen and sailors who lost their lives at sea, and poetry, song and dance by the community house, ending with a big party. The festival has been running since 1989. The 2023 event is on Saturday the 5th of August. If you are listening to this episode before then, and haven't planned for that weekend, I strongly recommend going to Mazirbe for the festival. It is a 2-hour drive from Riga. I always include a piece from the Latvian media in my episodes. This time, the story is from RTV, who reported that Kuldi Medna was the only person in the world who speaks Livonian as their first language, a 3-year-old. Her parents, Renata and Jānis Medņa, had published a book to help parents and children learn and pronounce their first words in Livonian. Kuldi only understands Livonian, and to speak the language with her daughter, her mother Renata started learning it before she was born. Jānis Medņa explained, "We want to be a good example for others. You have to do it and dare to do it. We always talk about the lived language, culture and revitalisation, but it has to be done." The learning material is organised into 14 household topics. Each topic can be read in Livonian and Latvian and is supplemented with a small insight into the grammar, with a folk song, poem, or rhyme suitable for children, and a list of words to learn. Kuldi's name, translated from the Livonian language, means golden, so the book dedicated to her is called Golden Child. As Kuldi Medna grows up and new topics enter her everyday life, their parents hope that the book can be continued as a series, and they also plan to record the first edition as an audio version. That's the media story. As a parent of children who speak 2 languages, I know how complex this can be to teach and use both languages. There has to be motivation from the child as much as the parents. I wish the Mednis family well. The last remaining first language Livonian speaker, Griselda Cristina, died in Canada in 2013. I had the pleasure to talk about the Livonians with Eva Ernstreiter, Chairperson of the Livonian Union, at the Livonian Community House in Maziebe. So please tell me more about Livonian people, their culture, perhaps their history, why Livonian people are so important in Latvia.
The importance lies, I think, in the fact that actually the Latvian Satversme or constitution clearly says that there are 2 indigenous nations in Latvia, which are Latvians alongside with Livonians. How this territory developed hundreds and hundreds and centuries ago, and how the nation, what were the beginnings, the roots of the people living here on the coastline, and not only. Some maps show that in the 12th century, the present territory of Latvia, at least almost half of it, was Livonian territory. So, in the centuries of development, of course, it's also the history of Latvians and Curonians. I would like to get this feeling myself and give it to other people that Livonians have always been there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The fact that we had lost this idea or this sense is a different. We were very close also to lose the sense that we are Latvians because of very different reasons, because of long 50 years off. And that also, this is not one reason, that's I would say a set of reasons why we should always keep in mind and remember that Livonians were everywhere and were first here.
So many people, if they looked back in their history, would find in their ethnicity that actually they had some Livonian roots.
At least you hear more and more wherever you go, whether it's Vidzeme Livonians or Kurzeme or Riga or even Latgale, and you start telling about Livonian matters and cultures. But somebody also, yes, I know, I remember she told me, or they were telling that we have some Livonian roots. One clear evidence of that is that the village I used to live, Latgalians married Livonian people, even in last century, okay? Yeah. But then you have to take this, very detailed history book and trace, yes, which I will give you later on a bit insight. Like this, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. And what I do know is that the Livonian people have a different language. Mm-hmm. It's a Finno-Ugric language rather than a pure Baltic language.
The Baltic Sea Finnish language,
yes,
kind of the branch of,
which is perhaps similar to Hungarian or Finnish or Estonian.
The real, I would say number one is Estonian. Mm-hmm. Then the next easy to get a click with is Finnish, and then if you are very musical and very linguistically minded, you can trace some similar sounds and clicks in Hungarian. Mm-hmm. But that's that's not that strong, I would say. But again, I don't want to argue with linguists. They see probably the language samples, the structures or whatever. But with Estonians, it's really easy to get a click with. Terinch, tere, and tiretaks, and terviseks, and juva päeva, and many other ones. Juva ödög, juva öden. Yeah, they recognize a language immediately. And so on, yeah.
Even I know terviseks and what that means.
Yeah, exactly, right, yeah. And minnimumieva, misum sinnem, and they counting and many other ones.
Yeah,
so
which
with
is very similar to
Estonians,
Finnish, I know.
Yeah, very similar to Finnish as well, and we get easily. But with Estonians, it's an immediate kind of. I mean, these elementary phrases. I don't speak about long sentences and stories, but just conversational phrases. Yeah.
How many people speak Livonian now?
Well, the thing is that on daily basis, if you say you go shopping, you go somewhere else, no one speaks Livonian anymore. The ones who have studied Livonian because of some linguistic interest or other reasons, they do communicate in Livonian. But whether this is considered to be a kind of everyday or spoken language, that's a different thing. But they can communicate. But it doesn't mean that they will communicate in the Riga Central Market in Livonian with someone else, unless they are, say, from Tartu. Okay.
But in terms of people who speak it as their first language, I understand that's...
No, unfortunately not.
Yes.
So we don't have this. Yeah, we don't have such a... Yeah, this is not there.
Yeah. But I understand there's a revival in people wanting to learn some Livonian. And you were telling me earlier about the summer school.
As well. This, I would say, the first signs of revival started immediately in 1989, when we again started our Livonian festivity on the same 6th of August like it was in 1939. So after around 50 years. And then the first kind of urge was, hey, let's organize Sunday schools. And the classrooms were just packed with people, all generations, big and small, and we started to learn. And that was a start. But at some point, it got a bit, because of we did not have enough teachers, and some changes. But at the same time, or simultaneously, the summer camps I mentioned before, this year is the 30th time, the 30th summer they are coming together. The programs initially were just shorter. That was 7 days, 1 week. Now it's 10 days, and probably it was just a touch of Livonian. Now they are on their way to work out a very well decided or appropriate program, so that this is, A1, A2, B1, B2, step by step. That means that older ones of the summer camp or summer school, as we just prefer to say, just as a camp. It's not a summer camp, it's a summer school, which means you learn.
Yes.
Bad for the summer, especially near the sea, but still, that's the only chance. But it's popular. And so the ones who have been here for 6 years, for 7 years, now they are in their 19s, and they are urged to become students of this Nordic, not Nordic, but Finno-Ugric language department of Latvian University to get a qualified teacher status, so that they come, because if we don't have teachers, it's very difficult. So then, we do the activities via singing, and the language is not something unknown or strange or boring, but language has to be used.
Yeah, language is an important part of culture, but not the only part of culture.
Not really.
It's arts and other things. How would you describe Livonian culture beyond language, which of course is very prominent?
Yeah. First of all, I think this is a sense of nature, because for the Livonian people, especially, I'm more now concentrated on this northern Kurzeme, or this Livonian coast in the north of Latvia. This is nature, which springs up everywhere, in poems, in games, in songs, everywhere, in language. This is one. One thing. What I also have noticed, the ones who come to the summer camp, when you show some probably old photos these are very old photos, but if we ask them to come back to a childhood memory or grandmother's memory, that's a click. What they did, what was the relationship, how many kids, what were the different traditions from Latvians, and so on. Culture, traditions, nature, and the sound of the language. And the sound of the language, which is very special.
Yes.
And we are very proud, and I think that's a big step. So, because the Livonian anthem, Izamo, my fatherland, and if they know it, you see their eyes and their faces when they sing it, and they know it by heart. That's a very good, sign and hope.
Yes. The other thing I noticed walking around or the other villages is the flag.
Yeah.
And it's a very special flag as well. Tell me more about the flag.
It's absolutely from the nature. You have to imagine that you are a fisherman.
Blue and green, yeah.
Yeah, but you are a fisherman. You are about to come back from fishing.
Yes.
And you're looking forward to be at home, and the first thing you see are the treetops from your boat. Then you move closer. Oh, that's the sand already, the beach. And then, now I am in the blue water, which is not always blue, but supposed to be blue. And this is Oļas, Valda, Siņi. Oļas means green, Valda means white, and Siņi means blue. And there's a special plaga, where we just say how important it is to have our own flag. And you asked about the signs. Why this green, white, blue is like ABC for every Livonian. Whatever thing it is, either it's a little flag or a bookmark or an envelope or drawing, it's all there. The symbols of, and related with the sea, with the coast, with the dunes, with the nature. You can see the collection of drawings in this hall. You will find these symbols because, if they say Livonians, that's Loja, which is a boat. That's Kinka, which is dunes, and so on and so on. So by this language, you will learn. These are the signals, the little signs, which might lead them further on.
We're in this wonderful cultural centre with paintings around and lots of information boards and this big theatre where we're sitting in and having a chat. What role does the cultural centre play? The doors are always open, it seems to me, and you're here running the centre.
6 weeks a year in the summertime when the door should be open. Then it's nice it's nice to be here because it has so many stories. This is guest book number 2. The first one is this big. And if you read the texts or the greetings left there, it's a history. It's real history. But the building itself, it's a wonder here. I think it's really, many people admire, in the middle of nowhere, all of a sudden there is a white palace or a huge, nice house. The story goes back to the beginning of the years when the Livonian Union was founded. So that's logo of this year, 1923. And because the villages are pretty scattered, all these 12 villages, 11 villages are just 7 kilometers, then 9, and so on, so on. The active people of the Livonian Union at that time wanted or had a willingness to be together. Because this parish house was okay, but parish house is a parish house, is a different function as well. And somebody's idea was why don't we have a house? A place where we can meet. And the place itself is in the center of all villages. It's right, Mustanom is that way, and Wovishi is that way. And Mazirbe has always been and then on developed as a center. Shops, school, libraries, and all other institutions you needed at that time. Yeah, and that's a long history, how this plan came into life. 10 years of collecting all the resources and material and money and so on. And then in 1 year it was ready. And again, the Finnish presence and the Estonian presence and the Hungarian presence has always been there. This time financial, because Finnish government, Estonian government, Hungarian government all donated to build this house. The architect is a partnership of a Latvian, Visvalds Paeglit and Erkki Hutunen, whose project is clearly visible. It is a Finnish feeling here. It is this, this no extras, just functional, just simple, just simple.
Yeah.
And that was it. And in 1 year it was built, and you came in and you read brown plates upon the entrance in 5 languages, and it said that this house was built with the help and support by the mentioned governments. Bad luck. It was opened in 1939, 6th of August, and we had to leave. Livonian community or organization had to stop its work and had to leave, of course, building. And that was the end of the story. They managed to do some nice things here, to come together for dancing, for theater, for singing, but that was just 1 year. And then it was over, and 50 long different years. Yeah.
Yes, Soviet occupation.
But I would like to say that I'm not in favor of the occupation. It was terrible because we were living like. But children did not feel this, that you are in a kind of different system. I was 10 probably, and so on. But what is good, that it was kept, yes, in the Soviet way, in the Soviet times tradition, cinema, dancing, meetings, theater, the same way, but under a different flag.
Yes.
Well, and not only in Latvia, that was in many countries. The painful or the very emotional thing was, I don't know what the English is for these wires, which are very sharp, used, say, when you want to, cross the border.
To wire.
Probably, yeah.
Or razor wire.
Because we had, can you imagine? So there is a harbor where the boats come.
Yes.
And then there are 20 meters left, 20 right, with this, this indicated.
Yeah.
And that was a space you were allowed to swim, to enjoy the sea. In my childhood. When you are about 40, then you are full of energy, and there are many people of us, and we were very active in, again, attending the Sunday schools and language learning school gatherings, and we have a lot of books where we can learn. So we have textbooks and readers and different other stuff. The thing is that the language should be used.
In ending our chat on a happy note. My observations. I came to the Livonian Festival first weekend of August in 1997, 1998, possibly even 1999. I regularly came. I really enjoyed it. It was even though I couldn't understand very much, but I had some Estonian diplomats who would translate things for me, and I found it was a really wonderful thing. And now, some 30 years later almost, to see that that still happens, that the first weekend of August you will still have a festival here to celebrate Livonian language, to celebrate Livonian culture. And that's a wonderful thing.
It is, and we are very proud of it, and the quality and the people who are interested and coming here is really increasing. Because that's not only Livonian festivity, that's a place where the neighbors meet the neighbors and their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren come together. Oh, you're from Seacrux. Oh, you used to be my neighbor, and so on. That's a meeting day of all villages, classmates, desk mates. Once we had a very tricky decision, because you know what Ventspils is. It's not far from us. And Ventspils is a very special place, and people like the activities held, and unluckily, so their city festivity and our festivity coincide the same first Saturday of August, and then we say, okay, little brothers, let's move 1 week back in July, so that the people could visit also Ventspils. We did. We were absolutely just smashed and washed. How did you dare? Where is our festivity? Where is Mazirbe on the first Saturday? We came back the next year.
Yes, I'm not surprised.
It didn't work. Because the ones who come here will come here, and the ones who will go to Ventspils will go to Ventspils.
Exactly.
No problem. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for telling me so many wonderful things. Thank you.
I don't know whether it's all right.
It is. Thank you. In conclusion, I support the fantastic activism of the remaining Livonian people and their supporters to protect the Livonian language and culture. It is essential to hold on to what we have. New is not necessarily better. While growing up in London and working at the British Foreign Ministry, I always felt myself as the underdog, not a part of the privileged, wealthy, so-called elite. I naturally fell into working with the Roma ethnic group from the 2000s, another European ethnic group that has had to fight for their identity, in their case first against the Catholic Church, then the Nazi Germans, and now against plain racism and discrimination. The Livonians don't have such a fight, but the challenge of remaining relevant to Latvians and Europeans, I count myself as a European Englishman, is very important. If this episode has touched you in any way, you can do your part. Read the excellent materials online at livonians.net. If you have the possibility, visit Mazirbe. Come to the Livonian Community House and learn about the Livonians. They even have a great cafe offering excellent pizza and fish and chips run by a local person. And enjoy beautiful Mazirbe, my favourite place in Latvia.